I'm Jack Bates.
John Malhuck.
Doris Gordon.
Wilma Oley.
My name is Delbert Keith Gordon. Uncle Sam calls me Delbert. My friends call me Keith. You know, the Depression was perhaps different for the farmers because we had everything there. It was not much. I do remember in the Depression that we didn't have certain things. There was all of a sudden, everybody went to town on Saturday night, took their eggs into the grocery store and so on, and everybody was in town on Saturday night. That was just the way things were done. And I was given a dime that I could spend. Well, a dime would buy you one of these big Hershey bars, and or spend 5 cents for an ice cream cone. And suddenly, my mother told me, well, you're only going to get a nickel. And then after a while, she said, we can't give you anything.
I would think that in those days, the family life was better than it is today. Well, the families were closer together in those days. They had to depend on each other, and they paid more attention to each other. Now, the family, for example, my family, I have 3 sons. Only one of them lives in the city. The other 2 live out of the city, and while we have a very good connection, we're not as close as our family was back when I was a child.
As far as I can remember, I just remember my mother talking about we belonged to the Clean Your Plate Club and had to eat, always had to, and I think I may have been a kind of an early age, kind of a picky eater, because I think I wasn't always wanting to eat, but my mother said, well, we belong to the Clean Your Plate Club, so we have to clean your plate. So it's very hard for me to leave food because that was so ingrained in me. But I don't remember that our diet was lacking in anything at that time.
I was fortunate to have a father that was very generous, mother, and were remarkable parents. My father, being a dentist in a small town, was respected. And during a depression, he had days when he didn't have patients, but his income was sufficient to keep us in what I would say luxury.
Another thing, we had a furnace, but we had to turn all the heat off to all the bedrooms, and it would just come in the living room. We just had one register, and how we had to take turns on that register, getting dressed in the morning. Sometime my brother would boot me off the register because it was his turn to be on the register because that was a good place to stay warm and get dressed. But we had to give up the heat in the other parts of the house. The kitchen and the living room were the only place, but no heat in the bedrooms at all to save.
If we got a cold, Mother would put a plaster of antiphlogistin, sort of a paste, on our chest and then put a warm cloth over that. And that was supposed to help us when we had a cold to keep our chest clear. And Father had been brought up, if we had a bad cold, that if he used just sulfur and blew it in our mouth, the sulfur would get into our throat and eventually into our lungs, and that would help us to get rid of a cold. I don't think they do that anymore, but I remember having it done.
We just cod liver oil and stuff like that was supposed to keep us going. Plus, again, being a Christian family, we heard all the time that the Lord will take care of us and the Lord will provide. And so we didn't have a lot of health problems. I don't remember anything serious.
And I'm always amazed these days at how some of these people that are having such hard time financially, but they've got everything. Everything new that comes out, they've got it, you know. And we got along without those things because they weren't available. But I don't think you need to have everything that there is to be happy. Some things I think it's a lot of things that make people, and they're not really happy anyway.